Easter eggs in video games have always been a really fun thing to discover or never discover because you didn't find them and therefore it wouldn't be fun. So that's why I'm bringing you today's video. Baldur's Gate 3 contains references to Larian's previous games, famous poets, other games, media phenomenons, classic TV shows, and much, much more. But first, a quick message from today's video sponsor, Factor, and see if you can find the Easter egg in this one. What's up? They got protein shakes now. They're freaking good. Factor is the one-stop shop to deliver you fresh, never frozen, chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals right to your doorstep. Because it's wintertime and it's cold. Don't go out there. Factor's meals are ready to eat in as little as 2 minutes. Seriously, 2 minutes. And it's actually amazing how good the food tastes. Skip some of that meal prep over this busy holiday season and allow yourself to save some valuable time to stay on track with your healthy lifestyle and continue to tackle that holiday to-do list. Factor offers 35 plus weekly flavor-packed meals to choose from, and the great thing here is you can choose meals that fit your particular needs, such as Protein Plus, Calorie Smart, Keto, and Vegan, and Veggie. This is my perfect go-to lunch or dinner solution during busy times while playing Baldur's Gate 3 Honor Mode. It's not just lunch and dinner though, as Factor also offers an assortment of 55 plus add-ons such as breakfast items, grab-and-go snacks, shakes, smoothies, and juices. So head to Factor75.com or click the link below and use code WolfheartFPS for 50% off your first Factor box. That's Factor75.com, code WolfheartFPS for half off your first delicious box. Back to the video. Let's start off with an Easter egg that took myself way too long to notice, and most of you are probably already aware of this by now. On the Baldur's Gate 3 starting menu screen, the adventurers who can be seen walking down the stairs into the Temple of Baal are actually Larian devs. Well, at least one of them is. The tall guy with the armor in the front is none other than the owner and creative director of Larian himself, Sven Vincke. Now, I would guess that the other adventurers behind Sven would also be Easter eggs of Larian devs, although I don't think a Dragonborn works at Larian, but there was that one floor that they wouldn't let me anywhere near, but I couldn't even give you a guess as to who they may be. For this next one, I think I'm actually myth-busting an Easter egg that, if it was in the game, it would quite literally qualify as a myth. So I've read a few articles containing the Loch Ness Monster Easter egg in BG3. Well, I went to go verify this, and yeah, that looks like a bone to me, especially considering that there's a huge rib cage very close to it. Who knows though, perhaps Larian wanted a bone that looked like the Loch Ness Monster's head. Moving on, but please do note that this video does contain spoilery content as I talk about and show Easter eggs from various parts of the game. Warning given. In the Mind Flayer colony, underneath Moonrise Towers, you can find a room that contains a brain puzzle. It's in the southeast corner of the colony. If you complete this puzzle with a character who has the sage background in your party, such as Gale, you get an Easter egg. This inspiration point is called Brain Blast, and it's of course the catchphrase of Jimmy Neutron, a classic TV cartoon from the early 2000s. The next Easter egg is an environmental Easter egg, but it may also not be an Easter egg. In Act 1 near the cave where the Zentrum agents are being attacked by gnolls and hyenas, we can find what could possibly be a Pride Rock Easter egg, which is of course the iconic location in The Lion King. It would make sense considering all the hyenas hanging out in this area. Jumping into Act 3 and heading into everyone's favorite Sharess's Caress located on Worm's Rock Bridge, when you get to the Devil's Den room on the 3rd floor, you'll find Raphael, and if you look closely, you'll notice that he has 666 HP if you're on balanced difficulty, which is of course the number of the Beast, the Devil, the Antichrist, a very fitting number for our favorite villain. Since we're talking about evil things, let's head back into Act 1, into the apothecary's cellar in the Blighted Village. If you figure out how to get into this rather secret protected room, you can find a powerful book called The Necromancy of Thay. This book bears great resemblance to the Necronomicon Ex Mortis, a book featured in the Evil Dead franchise. Cool little Easter egg. Later on in Act 1, in the Mountain Pass, within the Githyanki Creche, you can find the Hatchery Room. Within this room is this dinosaur-looking egg, but really it's just a Githyanki egg. Now the custodian of the hatchery is what we're really looking at here though, as Varsh Koku looks strangely similar to John Hammond in Jurassic Park. Now this could just be a coincidence, but Dr. John Hammond in Jurassic Park of course also works with eggs, that of dinosaurs in the films. So I think we can call this one an Easter egg. Staying on the topic of possible Easter egg characters from other universes, many have theorized that an Easter egg of Geralt of Rivia can be found on the 1st floor of Sharess's Caress on Worm's Crossing. Here in the corner we have this guy, who definitely has that Geralt of Rivia haircut. And considering that we are in a brothel, it does fit Geralt's character. The only thing throwing me off is in my game his hair appears to be way too dark to be Geralt, although I do see some screenshots online where players seem to find this guy with much whiter looking hair. Perhaps my settings are a little off, or maybe Larian patched it at some point, but it's a fun Easter egg to think about regardless of whether or not it's supposed to be him. Another one that I'm unsure of, but the more that I listen, the more I feel like it is an Easter egg, is a Jack Sparrow audio Easter egg. So within the Rosimorn Monastery in the Mountain Pass, there's a room filled with drunk kobolds. When you get close to this one particular kobold, you get this little scene.
What do you mean, too drunk? It's not possible.
That sounds a little too similar to Jack Sparrow's voice, if you ask me. Listen again.
What do you mean, too drunk? It's not possible.
If this is an intentional Easter egg, this is a great one to represent everyone's favorite drunk pirate in Pirates of the Caribbean. Let's head into the Elf Song Tavern now, which can be found in the lower city of Baldur's Gate. If you talk to Chef Rovir here, he gives you a quest to go kill rats in the cellar, and this quest is called Rovir's Storehouse. This is a very Baldur's Gate type quest, as not only in BG1 do you get a quest to kill rats in Candlekeep in the Reaver's Storehouse. Reaver is awfully similar to Rovir, not to mention the two storehouses look very similar to each other, despite being in different locations. But also, your first quest in the Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance ARPG series quite literally sends you into the cellar of the Elf Song to go eliminate rats. Having a Kill the Rats quest in BG3 may not mean that much to some, but to those who played Dark Alliance or Baldur's Gate 1, it gets you in the feels. Speaking of Baldur's Gate 1, of course there's a ton of returning characters in BG3 and also little references throughout the game of characters in the original games and also just in general Forgotten Realms lore. But I'm not exactly sure that I would put all of that into the Easter egg category, considering that canon Forgotten Realms lore isn't really Easter egg. Really? Now with that said, I am putting this guy into the Easter egg category, and I got a few more BG1 references later on in this video. I'd like you to meet Naaber. Oh wait. I killed him.
Roar! Roar! Roar!
Naaber is a major throwback to Baldur's Gate 1, where players will meet one of the most annoying characters in video game history, Noober, a character put in the game quite literally to test a player's patience. Oh my god, it's him.
Hey.
Oh god, I'm already getting pissed off. It's kind of like the adoring fan in Bethesda games. Larian decided to give us a descendant of Noober named Naaber. So if you're someone who didn't play BG1 and you're wondering what and why this character exists in BG3, because it's a nice little Easter egg / throwback to the classic originals. Let's head into Act 2 now, though, and visit the rather gruesome Waning Moon Tavern. Behind the bar here, you can find a bat that's called the Rat Bat. Many have speculated that this is actually an Easter egg for the popular Always Sunny in Philadelphia show, as in that show, Charlie has a rat bat that looks very similar to this one. Taking into account that in BG3 you find this bat behind the bar counter, and that Always Sunny in Philadelphia is a show that takes place mostly in a bar, I think we can call this one an Easter egg. While on the topic of TV shows, we may have a Westworld Easter egg in the Arcane Tower, which can be found in the Underdark in Act 1 of Baldur's Gate 3. Now this is a bit of a TV show spoiler as well, so use the chapter markers below to move ahead if you have not watched the show Westworld. So the construct named Bernard in the Arcane Tower is very, very similar to a character named Bernard in Westworld. Bernard in Westworld disseminates poetic phrases among his fellow automatons, influencing their behaviors. This entire scene is very Westworldy, and similar lines are used in both BG3 and Westworld, including some Shakespeare phrases. And speaking of Shakespeare, if you know your classic literature, you can find Shakespeare, Mark Twain, and Edgar Allen Poe lines several times throughout your full runs from characters, but also keep an eye on the names of some of the inspiration points that you may earn. The most notable lines are from Gale, who quotes A Midsummer's Night's Dream by saying, "What fools these mortals be." And Gale's love story with the goddess Mystra actually feels like it may have been inspired by A Midsummer Night's Dream. Withers can be caught saying, "Suspicion always haunts the guilty mind," from Henry VI, and even Astarion quoting and paraphrasing The Telltale Heart by Edgar Allan Poe with his "Villains dissemble no more" lines. Many classic literature Easter eggs can be found in BG3. And staying on topic, when you summon the Raven familiar, you may notice that its name is Quoth. One of Edgar Allen Poe's most famous poems is The Raven, in which you can find the line, "Quoth the Raven nevermore." Alright, let's jump into the world of BG3 Divinity Original Sin 2 Easter eggs now, and for those who may be unfamiliar, that was Larian's previous game, Divinity Original Sin 2, and of course the companions in that game were a really big highlight of it and will be remembered forever by gamers. You can actually find portraits of all of the companions from DOS 2 on your BG3 journey. Bane's portrait can be found in Act 1 in the overgrown ruins in this room. That's our favorite undead character. The Red Prince can be found in Joaquin's Rest in the Eastern building on the 2nd floor. Don't catch on fire while you're paying homage to this very funny lizard. Losa can be found in the Druid's Grove in the same room that you find Nettie, the Grove's healer, in. If you look on the eastern side of the room, you can find Losa's portrait leaning against the stone wall. Ifan's portrait is a bit higher in elevation, as you'll have to go to the roof or 2nd floor of the ruined schoolhouse in the Blighted Village, the same place where you can find the 3 ogres. In this small room is where you will find the mercenary. My favorite dwarf beast can be found in the Underdark in the Arcane Tower. If you can successfully navigate your way up 1 floor from the tower's main entrance, you'll find the Marcus Miles portrait, aka Beast. And we of course can't leave out Sabile, whose portrait can be found in the tea house / the Hag's Hut in the swamp area of Act 1. Just head into the hut and you'll find her portrait to the right, but it is cleverly hidden behind some vines. Let's now talk about a possible Easter egg for a game that many of us have sunk far too many hours into, and that is World of Warcraft. Grat the Trader in the Goblin Camp sells a hammer called Doomhammer, which could be a reference to the mighty Doomhammer in World of Warcraft. It also could just be a coincidence, though. Final Fantasy fans, we have an Easter egg for Final Fantasy XIV, and this is a spoiler for that game, so I'm giving you a chance to pull this ahead right now. So if you have a character with a folk hero background and you talk to Alfira in the Druid's Grove the right way, you will earn the inspiration point that's called the Smile Better Suits. And this line is a nod to a Final Fantasy XIV character named Harchafant's last words before he dies. Let's now head to the graveyard in the lower city of Baldur's Gate. Now there's a ton of notable names here, especially those who really know all the details of the original Baldur's Gate games. But one of the most notable is of course Gorion's, and you can actually find his mausoleum here in the graveyard. In BG1 you start as Gorion's ward and witness Gorion's death by the hands of Saravak, who might I add also makes an actual appearance in BG3. This is a nice shout back to the originals, and you can actually see Gorion's skeleton. Also in the graveyard, there's a possible Critical Role Easter egg that can be found on one of the tombstones, and this tombstone reads M.T, which many speculate are the initials of Mollymock Tealeaf, a Critical Role character in the Mighty Nine series. And speaking of Critical Role, in the Elfsong Tavern, and this one's a bit harder to know if it's an actual Easter egg or not, there are 2 characters sitting at a table that many believe are Easter eggs for Grog and Pike, Critical Role characters from the Legend of Vox Machina series. Now this next one is a possible Elder Scrolls Easter egg, and it can be found in the Temple of Baal. Orin's dead mother Helena can be found down here, and where she's being kept and how she's kind of stuck in there bears quite a resemblance to the Night Mother from the Dark Brotherhood quest in Skyrim. Heading into the circus now in the Rivington district, if you go check out Lucretius's tent, you'll find 2 hands crawling around, kind of chasing each other in a way that have the names Scratchy and Itchy, which is likely a Simpsons Easter egg, as in that show, they're oftentimes watching the Scratchy and Itchy TV show, which in The Simpsons is an Easter egg to Tom and Jerry. On the outside of the eastern side of Sorceress Sundries in the lower city, you can find a cabbage salesman named Geezer Loris, and this guy is an Avatar The Last Airbender Easter egg. In that anime, there is a cabbage man, and time again, he is having a terrible day as his cart is always tipped over. Now, the really cool thing here is if you play as the monk class, you actually get some fun, unique Easter egg dialogue. Bringing us all the way back to Act 1, if you head into the Blighted Village and into the building on your left, you'll find a standing mirror. If you click on this mirror a couple times, you may get a dialogue line where your character says, "It's still me, even after everything." This is an Easter egg for a 2D RPG called Undertale, where at the end of that game, the character can walk up to a mirror and it will say, "Despite everything, it's still you." Undertale is a game that attempts to humanize its monsters, and it questions the moral fabric underlying player agency, which is a very fitting Easter egg for Baldur's Gate 3, especially at this part of the game where many players start using illithid powers. In the House of Healing in Act 2, you can find a House of Healing staff pool note, where under round 3 you can see Cyndaquil, which may indicate a Pokemon fan at Larian Studios, as this right here is a starting Pokemon from Pokemon Gold and Silver called Cyndaquil, spelled a little differently though. And above that may also be a nod to the YouTuber Jenna Marbles. This next one is an interesting one, but you'll need the deluxe edition of the game to see it yourself, or I guess just watch this segment of the video. The deluxe edition comes with an adventurers pack, which contains some extra camp supplies. And in these camp supplies, there's food, but it's not just random food. The food actually represents popular dishes from each country that Larian has a studio in. Frites are big in Belgium. Haggis is actually a Scottish dish, but also very popular in England. Poutine is of course a Canadian thing for Larian's Quebec studio. Stout stew is a popular stew in Ireland. Mixed coffee is probably Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And the sun-dappled paella represents Spain and their Barcelona studio. Heading to the blighted village in the ruined schoolhouse building where Ifan's portrait can be found. There's also 3 ogres. I don't think you'll be able to miss them. And these ogres argue over whether or not they should eat you and your companions. This reminds me a lot of the trolls Tom, Bert, and William from The Hobbit, when Bilbo and the dwarves find themselves in a very dangerous situation. Now back to some original Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 Easter eggs. In the sewers where you can find Minsc and Boo, there's a bunch of small stone blocks or pillars, each of which has a wooden carving on it. These tablets are references to potential companions from the original Baldur's Gate games. If you click on them with Jaheira and probably also Minsc, who are both in the original games, you can know exactly who they are meant to represent. The Warhammer tablet represents the halfling fighter named Mazzy Fentan. The turnip represents Jan Jansen, the illusionist thief gnome. The mailed fist is for Keldorn Firecam, a human inquisitor. The pair of wings tablet is in memory of Aerie, a winged elf lawful good cleric mage. And the cracked wooden mask is of course representing Dynahair, the human witch that Minsc was tasked with protecting. These can easily be missed, and if you don't have Jaheira in your group, for example, you would have to have really good knowledge on the original games to easily catch these fun little secrets. And that'll be it for this video. There's probably plenty more Easter eggs to be found and or talked about, and if you happen to know of any cool ones, let us know below in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all on the next one.